Vous savez, dans le travail qu'on fait, on cherche toujours des outils pour nous aider, de l'information. Moi, je sais que chaque fois que je publie quelque chose ou que je parle de quelque chose, mon patron va me dire « T'as pris ça où? Est-ce qu'on a les droits? Est-ce qu'on a le droit de l'utiliser? Parce qu'on ne veut pas se faire taper sur les doigts. » Mais ce qu'on va vous présenter, c'est un truc qui est libre de droit, que vous pouvez utiliser. Ceux d'entre vous qui connaissent Climate Central et Bernadette, vous savez qu'ils ont ce qu'ils appellent le Climate Shift Index, qui est un outil extraordinaire que vous pouvez utiliser aussi quotidiennement dans vos bulletins, qui vous montre de quelle façon le changement climatique a modifié la température qu'il faisait chez vous aujourd'hui. C'est vraiment intéressant la façon qu'ils ont fait ça. Et ça, c'est libre de droit. Vous pouvez l'utiliser, ça leur fait plaisir. Ce qu'on va vous présenter là, c'est aussi quelque chose qui est libre de droit et qui est un outil fantastique. Il ne faut jamais oublier que sur notre Terre, qui est couverte à 71 % d'eau, il y a beaucoup de données qui nous manquent sur les 3/4 de la planète parce que c'est de l'eau. Et pourtant, vous êtes d'accord avec moi que cette portion-là, elle a un impact important sur l'atmosphère, elle a un impact important sur la météo. On a, depuis quelques années, parlé d'El Niño et La Niña. On commence à réaliser et à intégrer dans nos bulletins ces informations-là, qui sont des informations plutôt océaniques, même si les gens ne vivent pas sur l'océan, mais bien sur la terre ferme. Eh bien, on va avoir le plaisir d'avoir les gens de MERCATOR OCEAN qui vont venir nous parler. Et ils ont aussi des outils à nous présenter qui sont libres de droit, qu'on peut utiliser et que je vous invite vraiment à le faire. Alors, laissez-moi vous parler d'abord de MERCATOR OCEAN. C'est une entreprise qui est à but non lucratif. Il y a 6 États européens en ce moment qui s'engagent à transformer MERCATOR OCEAN International en une organisation intergouvernementale dédiée aux prédictions océaniques. Et vous savez à quel point l'océan a pris du temps à se réchauffer. Et maintenant qu'il se réchauffe, il va prendre du temps à se refroidir. Il sera un joueur important dans nos prévisions des prochaines années. Elle a été sélectionnée, MERCATOR OCEAN, évidemment, qui décrit, analyse et prévoit l'océan en développant et en maintenant en conditions opérationnelles des systèmes numériques d'analyse et de prévision océanique. Moi non plus, je ne comprends pas cette phrase. Mais ils vont nous l'expliquer. D'accord? Je ne sais pas comment ils l'ont traduit. Ça s'est bien passé? Hein? Ça a passé comme ça, non? Ça allait quand même. OK. Alors, MERCATOR a été sélectionné par la Commission européenne en 2014 pour implémenter le Copernicus Marine Service, service qui fournit des informations multiples et gratuites sur l'état des océans, comme la température, la composition biochimique et l'état des glaces. Je ne sais pas si ce boulet vont le faire encore longtemps. Alors, pour nous brosser un portrait de nos océans, MERCATOR OCEAN diffuse des informations diverses sur l'état des océans et des mers, comme la diffusion du Marine Heatwave Bulletin chaque semaine, par exemple. Ces bulletins jettent un regard autant sur les zones européennes que sur l'état mondial du climat, des océans. Presque. MERCATOR OCEAN International favorise une meilleure compréhension de nos océans et de la relation que nous entretenons avec eux. L'organisme supporte une communauté internationale avec une optique dédiée de développement durable. Alors, pour nous expliquer en détail le travail essentiel de MERCATOR OCEAN International, et de quelle façon on peut tous, en tant que journalistes, météorologues, communicateurs, présentateurs, bénéficier de leurs travaux, je vous demande d'accueillir la responsable des communications de l'organisme, Mme Gratianne QUADE. Ça va la vitesse? Ça allait?
Thank you. Thank you. And although I am based in Toulouse, working for MERCATOR Ocean, I do speak some French, but I'm American, and I don't dare to do the whole presentation in French. So if you don't mind, I will present in English. Thank you. So I'm the Manager of Communications at MERCATOR Ocean, and it's been a really big pleasure to be in front of this audience of journalists, of meteorologists, and I'm really happy today that I get to bring another piece of the puzzle when we talk about climate change, and that is ocean, the other piece of the ocean climate nexus, which plays a big part, of course, in weather patterns, long-term and short-term. And also we're seeing, just like in the weather, many extremes that are happening every year that need to be reported on and are reported on within the media. And so I thought this would be a good opportunity today to present our services and also all the free and open tools that we offer to you, the journalists and media, to use in your reporting. So I don't know how to change the slides. Ah, okay. I also set up something called Slido, so you could join if you wanted. Otherwise, we can in the room do show of hands and interact a little bit, or you can join on your cell phone and you can pose questions, which could either be answered today or later. We can keep them for later. And one of my objectives of coming here today was actually to get some of your feedback about what do journalists need when reporting about climate change, and specifically what kind of tools would we as the Copernicus Marine Service be able to provide you. So through Slido, you'd be able to, in an open box, either put your comments or your questions. So, how many of you have heard of the Copernicus Marine Service or MERCATOR Ocean here? Oh, not bad. Okay, very good. And for those of you who haven't, it's my delight to present to you today about the service and how we can offer you the latest ocean news and analysis and tools to visual tools to tell these stories about climate change and ocean change. And then my colleague, Tony Jolibois, who you've seen in the back, will do a demonstration of our viewer so you can really dive into this digital ocean and manipulate the data. And at the end, we'll have a little time for questions and feedback, and a chance, I'm hoping, to get your feedback, like I said, about what you need as journalists and meteorologists. So MERCATOR Ocean. You can think of us as ocean forecasters, since we have, for example, some of our colleagues at Météo France here. A good analogy for explaining what we do is, as Météo France has models for doing prediction of weather, we do the same for the ocean. So we have global 4D models, the fourth dimension being time, predicting and giving forecasts of the ocean. We're known for our scientific excellence. It's a nonprofit organization in the process of transforming into a intergovernmental organization. And this really reflects the wider context, which is that the ocean is taking a higher place on the political agenda and also the agenda of the general public and medias, as we see, like in the weather, big changes afoot in the ocean happening quickly, records set every year. And so it's something that's being followed more closely. And MERCATOR Ocean provides many services through programs that we implement for notably the European Commission and UN bodies. So today we'll mainly talk about the Copernicus Marine Service, which MERCATOR implements since 2014. And also we implement with EUMETSAT, ECMWF, and the EEA something called Wikio, which is a cloud computing platform open to everyone that provides the entire Copernicus data catalog and Sentinel catalog with also computing resources. So if you don't have the computing resources in your own organizations, you can have that through the Wikio platform. These are investments of Europe to provide open Earth observation data and the means to manipulate it. We also work in the creation of the future European digital twin of the ocean through several frameworks with European partners. Also, we support the EU component to the global ocean observation, so getting the data is the first step. And then lastly, but not least, we host something called the UN Decade Collaborative Center for Ocean Prediction. And so you can think of this as an incubator, bringing together co-design mechanisms for data processing, forecasting, and helping to bring the international community together for modeling best practices and infrastructure best practices to deliver as one this idea of a digital twin, which is something that I'm sure you guys have all heard of. This is a big hot topic at this moment. So let's dive into the Marine Service and what it can provide you. So a few of you said you've heard of Copernicus. You've probably heard of NASA and NOAA. But the Copernicus is the European counterpart, a flagship Earth observation program providing terabytes of Earth observation data, free and open to world and European citizens, along with a suite of services so that that can be used. So, for example, on our website, you'll find a catalog of ocean data. For a lot of the audience here, some interesting ones, we'll talk about them a little bit later, would be things like sea surface temperature, sea winds, to name a few. Here, you'll find that we're a user-driven service, so that means that we listen to our users and we try and create fit-for-purpose services to make sure that we're meeting the needs of users. Data is provided in a common format. There's many different ways to access it, whether you're a scientist downloading data for analysis, whether you're a journalist who maybe wants to plug into data and create a data visualization tool or abilities through your own reporting. There's many, many different ways. In any case, it's all free and open. Did I say that? So, to break down the types of data and what might be interesting for you. First of all, we have the blue ocean, which describes the physical aspects of the ocean, like temperature, salinity, currents, waves, sea winds, all of which I think play a big role. Next, we have the green ocean, which really describes the biogeochemical composition. So that can be anything from phytoplanktons, planktons on the higher trophic scale, nutrients, oxygen, carbon uptake, these types of indicators of variables. Lastly, we have the white ocean. So that describes the life cycle of sea ice from extent to volume to thickness, and we actually redistribute a lot of the data from EUMETSAT on sea ice. So to give you another picture, the data is coming from numerical models, just like in the world of meteorology. We also have in situ data in the ocean on the coasts, or sensors in the ocean and on the coast, as well as satellites. It has a wide temporal offer. It goes back to about 30 years. Near real-time data, so it's used as a operational service, and then forecasts up to 10 days in the future. It's done on a global scale with different regional products that provide different resolutions. So here, before Patrick said, I don't know what that is, what is an operational service for the ocean. So here you see in situ, this is boats, buoys, collecting data on the ocean. We have satellites above offering, we have the suite of those products. And then using all that, we also provide numerical models. Those are put in cloud platforms, so then users are able to download it quickly and use it in an operational manner. So who can benefit from this? The short answer is everyone. But the long answer is it's very much targeted towards scientists, but it's also really important for decision makers and journalists when understanding what's going on in the ocean and how can we understand these changes afoot that are natural variations and those in line with climate change. And so we do this, our objective is to inform, showcase analysis, and provide tools like visualization tools, maps, information that's easier to understand and easier to bring to the public. So to talk about a little bit of our blue markets who are using this type of data, it can touch any market from the siting of marine renewable energy resources out in the ocean that requires data to both find the optimal place to put it and to make sure that it's meeting environmental standards. It can be used by the routing industry, the ship routing industry, to optimize their routes, thereby decreasing the carbon footprint. It can be used by those working in polar regions. As we know, we could have an ice-free Arctic in the coming years, and that opens up incredible trade routes and geopolitical issues, and so we'll need to understand that area better. Of course, marine conservation, biology, and the list goes on. If you want to know more about that, we have a use case section on our site that you can check out to see how operational oceanographic information is applied in our real world. So let's skip to ocean news. We've talked a lot about atmospheric news, but ocean news also might be interesting and can help to tell the story of climate change, because we at the same time have ocean change, which is undergoing massive temperature and even chemical composition changes. So first of all, I want to get to know you a little bit better. I want to know how many people here work in radio, for example, radio. And then TV, okay, print, digital, okay. And are you working on telling like the wider story of climate change as well? Do we have people here working? Okay. Okay, so then I think I'm ecstatic to be here because I have some things for you. So beyond the data, I talked about these terabytes of data that we have, which is a bit intimidating. And so I'd like you to know that there's plenty of other forms that you can receive this data and analysis that's that's already processed for you. And so that comes in the form of state-of-the-art reports, scientific reports. We have yearly reports on the state of the ocean, articles about what's happening in terms of things like marine heat waves, record temperatures in the North Atlantic, the signature of El Nino, et cetera, et cetera. We have experts, so if you need to talk to an expert interview for your news piece, you can contact us. We have ocean visualization tools, which Tony will dive into with you and show you more. And then we have explanations, so translating that information for the general public. And that comes in the form of several things, and I'll go into that in a moment. So first of all, we have a yearly Ocean State Report. You've probably heard of the European State of the Climate Report. This is our counterpart, the Ocean State Report that we do every year to give decision makers, scientists, the general public, a dashboard for understanding the state of the ocean, both natural variations as well as changes in line with climate change. And our 7th report is now available online. And on October 26th, we'll have the the summary for policymakers and journalists, which could be interesting for you, that already goes through the 200+ page scientific report, pulls out the key findings and translates it exactly for an audience like this. And so the report goes from the global scale, looking at different phenomena and things notable for that year, to the European scale. As we are a European service too, we have that focus. The summary, like I said, pulls out key takeaways, gives you information in the numbers, and tries to provide a wider context in terms of like use cases, outcomes, questioning what have we learned from this. And it involves a lot of infographics, some sticky information. When I say sticky information, it's when we try and take statistics and put them in a short sound bite that people can remember. So why do we do all this? Why does Europe invest in this? Of course, it's to stimulate blue economy. Of course, it's to understand our ocean. But another big piece is policy and ocean governance. This challenge that we all have in front of us of facing climate change, and the ocean being a huge piece of that puzzle. It's recognized that we must connect science to policy. So that's a big piece of our reporting, which is very much outlined within the Ocean State Report. And it starts with ocean observations, ocean data, and then ocean data knowledge transfer. And that's where often it goes to policymakers, but also to journalists, where you play a big role in communicating this next piece to the wider audience. And our Ocean State Report has started to build some traction amongst the media. It doesn't enjoy quite as much traction as some of, for example, the Copernicus Climate Service reports, but we are working on it. This year, for example, we will hold an online press event. It's going to be on the 19th of October to present the summary. That way, journalists can have the information on embargo ahead of time to create any stories for the publication. And during this time, you would be able to speak to the chair of the activity, Dr. Karina van Schuckman, who is also an author on, for example, several IPCC reports. So we do have a lot of very high-level internal expertise that is a great resource for journalists when answering these questions about the ocean's role in climate change. On our website, we also have ocean monitoring indicators. So those are the long-term trends of what's going on with the key variables. So key variables being things like sea ice. We see a long-term decline in Arctic sea ice, for example. For this audience, I think you'd be really interested in things like sea surface temperature and ocean heat content at depth, which plays a role in weather. We'll have a different way of interacting with this data coming out in November. So we're trying to find different ways to make this information more accessible, more interactive. So for example, we'll be coming out with the Ocean Climate Portal where you'd be able to download CVS format so you could do your own data journalism. For example, creating your own graphs, linking it in with other data inputs, zoom in on regions, as well as time with some sticky statistics. So those are the explanations on why this is all important. You can visit our website for the latest news on what's going on in the ocean and latest service updates. An example of that would be on the MERCATOR Ocean site. We have reports on, over the summer, we were on call the whole summer talking about this waves of marine heat waves that happened in the Mediterranean Sea and the North Atlantic in the European regional area. Which is something that even a few years ago, I remember we weren't having all these records, and all of a sudden this is something, just like in the weather, we're seeing these new records being set every year, and a huge uptake and interest in the media and the general public and politicians to know more about this, for example. So we created something called the Marine Heat Wave Bulletin, which we publish weekly. And it covers the global scale. So I'm going to give you a little video here. Does that work? Okay. So this is to visualize what the marine heat waves look like on a globe from over the period of a year. You can see it's definitely seasonally related, but that's a lot. That's really quite shocking. The yellow being moderate, and that dark red being extreme heat waves that we see covering a large portion of the planet. Here's another visualization just to drive home this point of ocean warming and just like the atmosphere has great consequences. This is the Mediterranean Sea, which is one of the fastest warming areas of the ocean in the world, and blue representing the 1980s. You see things are nice and blue, and then by the time we get to 2003, we really see a big difference, up to 3 degrees higher than the anomaly. Here's another example, but Tony's going to talk more about that, about how we can visualize this. So resources on our site, like I mentioned, we have explainers. So if you want to go to our site to find more base level explanations, what are marine heat waves and why are they important? What do they affect? How are they affecting biodiversity? How does this affect livelihoods? This kind of thing. We have some base information there. And we try and create sticky content. I mentioned that before, but this is exactly what I mean. So translating things like, instead of saying the actual amount of sea ice that was lost in the Antarctic in square kilometers, which is hard to understand, we would say something like, we'd translate it to 6 times the size of Germany has been lost in Antarctic sea ice since from the 1980s to 2021. So translating the data into things that I think the media often picks up, certainly politicians do. We host trainings and workshops. We had a training and workshop for journalists recently. And we also participated with UMETSAT. They had a really great Earth observation for journalists in providing information on how these upstream data sources can provide the base tools for storytelling. We participated in that, and that's, I think, also available online. Here we go, along with cloud computing resources. We have something called Jupyter Notebooks. So for those of you who are more technical, who can dive into the data, you can go ahead and already start manipulating the data in these labs that we've created online. Our service desk, so it's the same for all the Copernicus services, so atmosphere and marine and climate change alike. We have manned service desks or personed service desks, where if you ask a question, there will be a person coming back to you with an answer. So I'll give you a couple examples of already, let's say you have a story on sea ice. You can come to our site. You can get animations on the decline of sea ice. You can see the long-term trends. You can see the latest reporting, some sticky figures on putting that in context so that the general public can understand. If you're reporting on, for example, atmospheric heat waves, maybe you also want to talk about marine heat waves, which are also happening, not always correlated at the exact time, but it's the same sort of idea. You can come to our site, get long-term trends on sea surface temperature. You can see temperature at depth. We call that ocean heat content, to 300 to 700 to even 2,000 meters. You see the ocean is absorbing, it absorbs 90% of all the excess heat energy in the Earth system that's there because of human activities. And a lot of that is at the surface, and now it's more and more going to depth depending on your region. All this is, you can just take it from the website, give it a little caption. It comes from the Copernicus Marine Service, MERCATOR Ocean. Stick it on social media, put it in your tools, and you don't need to worry about copyright. Another example, I think this audience might be less interested in ocean acidification, but we also have tools surrounding that. You can look at long-term trends. This is an example of how a data journalist contacted our service desk, was able to find the right products and download data, and then use their own tools to create these really nice visualizations and tell this story about, this one is about climate change, or excuse me, sea surface temperature near Portugal by a Portuguese publication. Excuse me. And with that, I'm going to hand it off to Tony, but I would encourage you to take a look at Slido, give me your feedback on what type of information you would want from us, and then maybe at the end we'll have a little bit of time for questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gratianne. Merci beaucoup. Like she said, there will be a question period at the end, période de questions à la fin, but I have one question for right now. Gratianne? How many languages?
I got a microphone right here. So we are currently working on our site is translated into 6 languages now, but we're working this year to translate our website, the Copernicus Marine Service, into all the official languages of the European Union, except for Irish. So that's 26 languages. And so there you go.
Thank you very much. Alors, comme vous le voyez, hein, déjà 6 langues, c'est sûr que vous pouvez trouver ce que vous cherchez.